Hey, good morning. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners and the Reno City Council for November 5th, 2019. We will start with a salute to the flag. Mr. Bill Thomas, would you lead us this morning in a salute?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, would you call roll for Washoe County?
Of course. Vaughn Hartung, Chair.
Here.
Bob Lucy, Vice Chair, is absent. Marcia Burke-Bigler.
Here.
Kitty Jung is absent. Jeannie Herman. Here. Interim County Manager David Slaro.
Here.
Assistant DA Paula Borelli is delayed. And I am Jan Galasini, Chief Deputy County Clerk. Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. Could you call the roll for the City of Reno?
Yes, Madam Vice Mayor Breckus.
Here.
Dewar.
Here.
Delgado. Here. Weber, absent at this time. Jardin.
Here.
Reese. Here. Sheevy, absent at this time. Madam Vice Mayor, you do have a quorum of the Reno City Council.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we'll come back to public comment. Mr. Manager, item number 3.
Item number 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person, and comments are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam Clerk, do you have public comment?
Yes, sir. We have Jeff Church up first.
Okay.
I do have overhead.
Welcome, Mr. Church. Can we have the overhead for him, please? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Church. I run a website, renotaxrevolt.com. I'm here today to talk about the inhumane treatment of the homeless, especially along the Truckee River area. Yesterday, the CHAB met, the Community Homeless Advisory Board. They had 4 action items. The most compelling was the pollution along the Truckee River and the camps along the Truckee River. Now, on November 2nd, Mr. Paul White of QOL Reno did a river walk, including Miss Bonnie Weber, and I thank her for going. Even though this was planned way in advance, there was no security, and the news often talks about the peaceful protesters against Mr. White. Here's a couple of those peaceful protesters blocking the sidewalk, armed with a large weapon, blocking his group. RPD was called and finally responded. Now, yesterday, as I mentioned, the CHAB met. They had 4 action items. How many did they vote on? 0. The river quality, the compelling argument about the river, what did they do? Nothing. There was no motion, no votes. They keep talk, and putting it off. Yesterday, I filed a complaint with the City of Reno and the Washoe County Health Department. Mr. Paul White of QOL Reno did a water test, and I do have copies for both secretaries. Those water tests showed very high unacceptable forms of coliform and E. coli, essentially human poop in the river. Now, as it was mentioned yesterday, our water is safe to drink because it's processed after intake. All those homeless camps down on the river that poop in the river, where do you think they get their drinking and cooking water? From the river. The kayak park in Reno, where people swim, where people kayak. There's no warning. What's the testing on that? So there's the complaint that I filed with the health department. I'm putting you all on notice. You need to notice those homeless people. Do not allow them to drink polluted water. Do not allow them to swim, drink, use that water. And of course, don't allow them to poop in there. But you have to do something. I've complained to the health department now, I've complained to the City of Reno. Again, the kayak park, especially in the summer when the river flow is less with all that human poop polluting the river, you can't have kids swimming in that river. You can't have people kayaking there. You need to put up warning signs as they do in other places. And that's all mentioned in this complaint about the letters and the signage. So I'm asking you, I'm urging you essentially, I'm demanding that you, both City of Reno and Washoe County, take action on this pollution in the river because people can get sick. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, we have Ms. Tammy Holtz still, followed by Sam Dene.
Thank you.
Overhead, please. Good morning. Tammy Holdstill, Lemon Valley Swan Lake Recovery Committee for the record. Washoe County, you received this email from me. Now I'm here to show you. Maintenance for those pumps need to be better than what is happening. The comment again, back at the beginning of all this was, why are we going to spend $43 million on just a few when we're going to spend hundreds of millions down the road? Because right now, that's what's happening, is hundreds of millions of dollars is being spent to maintain a status quo of Swan Lake and making it scary for residents to see on a non-rainy, no precipitation, none for the last, 2 months almost? And yet, look how high the water line was in that culvert because of the pumps. There is an issue that has not been addressed, and this is at Idaho and Lemon. These are issues that need to be addressed, and we're spending lots of money on pumps that I guess are not being maintained properly. Now, along with that, since I got both the City of Reno and Washoe County, it took me, I left at 7:25 this morning from my home, which most of you know where I live, and it took me until 5 minutes before you guys started today to get here. And I did some zigzagging around to try and avoid traffic. I have photos. This is disgusting, and you want to keep building? You need to address the infrastructure. Infrastructure is not in place. $43 million should have been spent back in the 2000s, early 2000s, 2008, 2009, and we wouldn't be in the predicament we are in now, between water, oversaturation, and traffic. And you guys want to keep building. I don't know what to say to you folks, except for there's no common sense. And it looks like you're in the pockets of the developers. It's the only thing I can see. It's the only thing that explains it. Because obviously it's not getting done. Now, we had a meeting last night regarding some water management. It's getting further along. It's only the second meeting, but we need the questions, our questions answered, and we need action. We've already been in this since 2017, where the now acting county manager said, oh, the water will be gone in a year. Is the water gone in a year? He's also the one that said, why are we going to spend $43 million on the few? Well, there's a lot of issues, and it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam Dene.
Guess it's my turn.
Good morning, Mr. Dene.
Good morning. I'm Sam Dene, the guard angel for the government. Well, there are not many people here. We are the government. These are our employees up here. Not to start the thing off in a negative manner, but every time I see the media wacko freaks, my blood boils and my adrenaline gets to boiling. And if you walked in my shoes for 1 week, you would know why. Not to mention walking into my shoes for 26 consecutive years, philanthropically protecting the citizens from the government. And I greatly appreciate it when you have law enforcement over here protecting Sam against the nefarious people that might be out in the audience. Although I don't see the media here today, they're they're getting their information, they're getting their information off of YouTube and then ignoring it immediately. Thank you, gentlemen. At any rate, speaking of the media, my favorite people, the media wacko freaks, especially the Reno Gazette Journal panhandlers. They're panhandlers. They panhandled the city council on July 24th for $7 million, and the Reno City Council gave them $7 million, bailed them out, buying a defunct old building for $7 million, and then spending another $30 million to rehabilitate that defunct old building. Why did they do it? Because the developers were right there telling them what to do so that they would get their new billboards, so they would be reelected and perpetuate the idiocy. The idiocy, and I'm being nice when I say the idiocy. The media stepping on peons all the time, stepping. I'm here with stories to tell. The bailing out of the bankrupt Reno Gazette ought to be headlines, not this stuff about the Reno Gazette, this lady reporter masquerading as a reporter attacking the beautiful young women who only want to make an honest living downtown, maybe dressing the way that she probably wishes she could look, to dress the way they are. Picking on the city attorney over there, nitpicking on something, maybe this, maybe that. Headline stories about a nitpicking thing about this Reno city attorney over there. That's something that's so nebulous compared to the real elephants running all over them. And then you've got Edon, Mike Kazmierski, probably paying the newspaper to attack these places that are just trying to, these young ladies just trying to make an honest living. And Kazmierski is some kind of a born-again commissioner, Christian. At any rate, I could go on and on. Could I have another 5 minutes? It's early in the morning.
Thank you, Mr. Dene.
Could I have some more coffee?
Thank you, Mr. Dene.
I have nobody else signed in.
Okay. All right, we will close public comment and bring it back to the board. Mr. Manager, item number 4.
Actually, I believe the city council has an item to approve their agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, they have an agenda approval. My bad.
Yeah, can I
Madam
get
Vice
a
Mayor.
motion to approve the agenda from City Council?
You have a motion?
Oh, I didn't hear. Okay, Mr. Reese motion, Mr. Delgado second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. I'm sorry I don't have access to their agenda. I apologize.
No, not a problem. Mr. Chair, Ms. Vice Mayor, the next item is item number 4, public hearing, Master Plan Amendment Case Number WMPA 19-0001 and Regulatory Zone Amendment Case Number WRZA 19-0001. And Washoe County Planner Chris Bronzak is here for a presentation on this item.
Okay. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Chris Bronzak, Washoe County Planning. So today we're looking at WMPA 19-1 and WRZA 19-1. So this is a master plan amendment to the Reno-Stead Corridor Joint Plan and the North Valleys Area Plan. This is a continuation of the process for the master plan amendment moving through. It was seen on May 7th, 2019 by the joint Reno Planning Commission and Washoe County Planning Commission.
Yeah.
So the request is to change a 1 acre parcel
So it goes according.
from medium density suburban residential to commercial. Additionally, it is a regulatory zone amendment to change the subject site from medium density suburban to general commercial. So this is located off of Buck Drive and Lemon Drive, directly adjacent to the Shell station and behind a incoming Valvoline auto store. This location, there's commercial properties adjacent to it on the south and west. Additionally, there's commercial properties across the street on all 4 sides of that Lemon Drive, Buck Drive intersection. However, there are residential properties to the north and east of this 1 acre parcel. I've provided a vicinity map above for your information. So this is a bit of a busy slide. This is the Reno-Stead Corridor Joint Plan as it's shown within Washoe County's maps. As you can see, the subject site really isn't visible from this. However, it is maintaining that general commercial that is adjacent to the south and west of the property. I provided a close-up for the regulatory zone. As you can see, again, it's roughly continuing that general commercial zoning further north and east. So the Washoe County Master Plan does have a compatibility matrix. Basically what this is explaining and providing input on is it's a generic swap. There's not any additional negative impact that is being imposed. There's not any additional low compatibility or high compatibility. It's just a general swap. However, because this general commercial zoning would come into play, the applicant, upon development, would have to provide significant screening and buffering to the adjacent residential properties to the north and east. So public notice was provided. Notice was sent to 56 property owners within 1,000 feet. It was presented to the North Valley Citizen Advisory Board on March 11th, and then again to the Ward 4 Neighborhood Advisory Board on March 21st. The North Valley's CAB did recommend approval. However, no recommendations were provided from the Neighborhood Advisory Board. So within the Reno-Stead Corridor Joint Plan, there is some language that indicates pattern of growth. One of them is concentrating that bulk of commercial development off of Lemon Drive and US 395 North. And over the years, that concentration has occurred. And we see much of the densification of that commercial within this Lemon Drive, Buck Drive, and Sky Vista Parkway area. So the parcel currently contains an existing manufactured home. Upon the onset of our staff report, our analysis, and presenting to the planning commissions as well as the NAB, we have instructed that the applicant will have 90 days to remove the existing manufactured home after regional makes a decision regarding conformance. And that's important. We didn't want to base the removal of an existing resident prior to everything going through. So that's why that exception is in there within the conditions of approval as well as within all our staff reports. So staff, upon review, is recommending that the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners approve the proposed master plan amendment. We are also recommending that the Reno City Council approve the proposed master plan amendment, as this request does meet all applicable findings. Additionally, it is recommended that the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners approve the proposed regulatory zone amendment, as this request also meets all applicable findings. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, Madam Vice Mayor, I'll turn it over
Yes,
to you
I
and see if any of your council
Just
has any
ask if
questions.
there are any questions from the Reno City Council? I have a question. Sure, Councilwoman Breckus.
Yeah, I appreciate the staff report verbally and the materials and the condition, how do you use it? Precedent? Precedent. No, it's not precedent. Oh, I guess it is. Precedent in the term of precedent, yeah. How often do you use those?
So I'm not familiar with it being used regularly. The reason we had sat down numerous times with our legal counsel, and our legal counsel determined that we could move forward with that legal precedent.
Okay, well, it's intriguing. We're redoing our code, and I can see the value of it in general. So thank you for introducing a new concept to me.
Anyone else, council? I'll just say, it strikes me that this would generate less wastewater, generally commercial than residential. Not compared to the mobile home, but general residential.
So based off of what could be used, and based off of it being on that 1 acre parcel,
Right.
the calcs that we were given based off of engineering running, as well as the information that was provided, it does indicate a less intense use. If it were to stay residential, the potential would be for 3 dwelling units there.
I gotcha. Okay, so it's so minor. I just wanted to ask the question. We did just have a very extensive meeting last night, Councilmember Reese and myself, and Councilwoman Weber. Commissioner Herman was there up at Swan Lake, the North Valleys. And so it's something we always want to ask. And I learned today at the podium that Washoe County has actually, you might want to speak to this, adopted a 1.5 to 1 increase in stormwater capacity.
Well, that was for one particular project, and that's not what we're here to talk about.
Okay,
But
just
yes, yeah.
wanted to get that on the record because I think it's important, anytime we're looking at land use change. So with that.
Can I ask one more
yeah.
question? Is there septic and well on this premises right now?
The applicant is indicating yes, however, this will be hooked up to municipal sewer and water.
Okay.
If the proposal gets approved.
Okay, thank you.
All right, back to you.
Commissioner Herman, you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So now, will this be going into the STED plant and into Swan Lake?
No, my understanding, and this was a point of discussion at the Joint Planning Commission meeting as well. But my understanding is that this will hook up directly to Tumwharf and Sparks.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, Councilwoman Breckus.
Does Reno have a flow agreement to Washoe County for unincorporated growth to Tumwharf?
I do not know the answer to that.
Does any Reno staff know that?
And while they're coming up, I'll just say, last night we learned about the Buck Drive diversion that takes effluent from this area and sends it to Tumwharf, and there is apparently agreement. So
Thank you. Thanks for that report on that subcommittee for those of us who aren't sitting
Yeah.
on it.
For the record, Bill Thomas, Assistant City Manager, City of Reno. My understanding is that we have a long practice of looking at individual cases. I don't know if there's a specific agreement between the two entities, but I know in our ordinances at the city, we have a process whereby a unincorporated property could connect to the city.
We understand.
I was just wondering, because I know Sparks and the county have an agreement, and I guess we just administratively do it.
I mean, we are moving forward, speaking on behalf of the city staff, moving forward with Washoe County Utilities Division to look at some kind of an agreement for the North Valley. So I think that's in process.
All right, so back to you,
Okay.
Commissioner Hart.
Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have public comment?
Yes, we have Ms. Tammy Holdstill.
Welcome.
Morning, again, Tammy Holdsdale, Lemon Valley Swan Lake Recovery Committee. For the record, overhead, please. In doing my research, I came across on the internet, an EPA standard. When I was asking how much effluent or how much stormwater runoff there is for one home to an acre versus high density. And what you are looking at doing would be considered high density because if it's commercial, that means there'll be asphalt, there'll be one building. So in the scenarios, we have, this is 1 home to an acre, 4 homes to an acre, and 8 homes to an acre. And as you can see, it's 65% more stormwater runoff that will go to Swan Lake. 65% more. Another example in that same article shows no house, 1 house, 3 houses, and a whole city or high density. And you can see that it changes the saturation levels and the runoff levels of what actually happens. This is my only dog in the fight, but this is an important dog considering how Swan Lake is right now. As I've stated in the past, there's over 3,000 acres of high-density development around Swan Lake. Swan Lake is only 1,800 acres. So do the math. It's basic math. If you don't take care of the stormwater runoff and you don't take care of the effluent, we're going to be in the same boat we're already in. And it goes back to spending that $43 million 100 times over again. So I don't see any residents here that are saying they're against this parcel being commercial versus their homes. That's up to them. But what I am concerned about is the fact that you keep approving more high density and not taking care of the situation of Swan Lake.
Thank you. Madam
Mr.
Clerk?
Sam Dene.
Sam Dene, Air Force Academy graduate, and I don't have a pony in this rodeo either, and I don't like to get upset with people, right? Of course. At any rate, I've been overseeing these projects and schemes since 1993. Probably seen, whatever you want to analyze the magnitude, I've probably seen projects from the size of the railroad trench scheme in the mid-90s all the way up to the Gigafactory, and all these things are going on, and the massive, massive amount of growth that is taking place right now. And we all know that all these people who have these growth schemes, and I could name them one after another if I had another hour, all these people perpetrating these schemes of massive growth, you know, they're the smartest guys in the room. We all know that. The regular citizens don't know nearly as much as these brilliant carpetbaggers, I'll call them, coming into town. I could go and name a few of them, but I think we all know who they are, and others, and their cronies right in town who are joining in with them on these schemes. And I'm not speaking for or against this project. As I close out, as that background, what I will say, I've watched a lot of people come to these podiums figuratively speaking, I come to the podium with a shotgun. Most of the people who come here come with, figuratively speaking, sniper rifles. I have millions of things I have to oversee, but I have to say one thing. Of all the people I've seen come to these podiums on a specific issue or specific issue, I would have to say that Tammy Holstead knows more than all of the other people, than any of the other people that I've seen come here. She is an absolute expert. So when she wants to talk about the issues out in that area, let's say north of where I'm standing right now, she is the expert, and you should listen to her. You should listen to her on that issue, every one of you. But on the other hand, she doesn't have as much money to buy you billboards for your re-elections. Does anybody have a question? Anyway, did I tell you that I'm Sam Dene, an Air Force Academy graduate? I've been to every government meeting, virtually every government meeting. So I have a little bit of gravitas, except the media wacko freaks scared in their pantyhose of me.
Thank you, Mr. Dene. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else under public comment?
There's nobody else signed in.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak at this time? All right, I'm going to bring it back to the board. Mr. Raley, do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
Good morning. For the record, Mike Raley with the Christie Corporation, representing Lip Reconstruction, the project applicant. I think Chris did a great job. I had a presentation, but it's very repetitive to his staff report. So if there's any specific questions, we're happy to address those.
Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Raley? Ms. Herman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it seems a little bit uncertain about the stormwater issue. And also it just doesn't sound like there's a guarantee on where the sewer will go.
So at this time, there's not a specific project proposed. The ability to connect into that Buck Drive interceptor is the obvious choice for sewer. It's the easiest, it's the most efficient, which would take it back to Tom Wharf. As far as stormwater, the existing center has a fairly high-tech stormwater vault system that captures that stormwater, and that will be either tied into that system or a new system that would be the same would be put in this with future development. But that's all going to be sized and engineered depending on the final user of the site. So we're confident that we'll meet, all the requirements.
Well, I'm just feeling a little bit uneasy about that, but thank you very much for explaining it.
Okay, so I believe under current code, no more water that flows off the property today is allowed to flow off the property tomorrow after your development is complete. Am I correct in that?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Madam Vice Mayor?
Yeah, any questions or comments from city council members? All right, seeing none, back to you.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
commissioners, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move approval of the, as recommended by the Washoe County Board of Planning Commissioners, that we approve and adopt amendment to the Washoe County Master Plan, North Valley's Area Plan, and the Reno-Stead Corridor Joint Plan to change the master plan designations from medium-density suburban residential to commercial, and second, to change the regulatory zone of the subject parcel from medium-density suburban to general commercial, and 3, to authorize the chair to sign the 2 resolutions and to adopt the amendments to the North Valley Area Plan, the Reno-Stead Corridor Joint Plan, the regulatory zone map after a determination of conformance with the Planning Commission, with the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission.
Okay, I will second that. Mr. Lipparelli, is that suffice?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to confirm with Commissioner Burke-Bigler whether she's making the motion on the joint planning area and the county-only action that's designated on the agenda as part 2, or whether this is just the joint planning area motion that the city council will also be considering.
I am making the motion, oops, sorry, there it is. I'm making the motion based on the recommendations as set out in our staff as it relates to Washoe County and the Planning Commission, the Washoe County Planning Commission.
So 1 and 2, Commissioner? Because there's basically 2.
3 will authorize you as the chair to sign it
Understood.
once it's approved by the city of Reno also.
Is that suffice, Mr. Lipparelli?
Yeah, so I'm following the recommended motion in the staff report and matching that up to the agenda item that has 2 actions to be taken by the county commission. And my understanding is that this is action on both items by the county commission.
That is correct.
Okay?
That is correct, yes.
Seconder agrees. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and we second, and a second. Under discussion. Is there any discussion, commissioners? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 2-1.
2 votes?
It's a quorum. We have a quorum with 3.
When you get
Mr.
into land
Chairman.
use matters, it's different.
Yeah. Subject to being corrected by the staff who has intimate understandings of the development code, typically the action of a majority of the quorum is sufficient to carry a motion. But in master plan context, there are sometimes requirements for a greater number of votes. So I'm going to defer to the staff to correct me if I'm wrong about that. Otherwise,
We can actually get Commissioner Lucy on the phone. I know he's been watching. So if that's necessary, we can certainly do that. Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Trevor Lloyd with Washoe County Planning and Building. Yes, this is a master plan amendment, and per statute, NRS, it does require a supermajority of the county commission. So yes, if you can get Commissioner Lucy on the phone, that would be recommended.
Okay. Mr. Sluro, will you contact Mr. Lucy? Yeah, go ahead and we'll just pull back for a moment and we'll get Mr. Lucy on the phone. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll go back to the city of Reno while we pause for Washoe County. I'm looking for a motion on this item. Councilwoman Weber.
Thank you so much. I'd like to, based upon compliance with the applicable considerations, I move to adopt the proposed amendment to the Reno-Stead Corridor Joint Plan by resolution, subject to conformance review by the Regional Planning Agency.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilwoman Weber, second by Councilman Reese. All in favor? Excuse me, is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Can the Reno City Council adjourn then?
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again.
What's that? There may be public comment. Yeah, we need public comment at the end.
Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chair, it's going to take just a couple of seconds here. We'll have a little dial tone in everybody's ear, but they will get Commissioner Lucy on the phone.
May I have the floor?
Oh, yes, a comment from Councilman.
I'd like to bring up an issue related to joint plans. I worked on this plan in 1999. I was the lead staff planner on it. I think Bonnie Weber was a NAB member for the North Valley NAB at that time. And my recollection is the final...
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial...
I remember at the very end, county staff wanted to have this process of convening the two bodies, and that's why we have to do this. I don't believe that it's required by statute, and I had a conversation with Norma Azevedo about that, because I think the cumbersome nature of convening both these bodies and the planning commissions has fallen joint planning out of favor, and I've been advocating for joint plans for the North Valleys and Bird Eye since 2014. I think they're a way to avoid regional conflict, to make sure that you're planning with understanding the cumulative impacts of decisions that go forward, and avoiding a lot of conflict out there as the projects come together in helter-skelter development. And I'll make a point to saying that the city of Reno probably has appeals on the land use matters up until February coming out of Bird Eye in the North Valleys. So you can do the front-end planning that everyone agrees on, or you can have a lot of conflict and not manage the cumulative impacts of the development plan, the quality community everyone wants. And so with that, I'd like to ask the attorneys to work with Norma Azevedo, because I believe that, well, just if I may, I believe when you read the regional plan subsection about joint plans and how you amend versus how you amend a regular master plan, that there's terminology that is different, and the terminology that is in the regional plan does not require these joint meetings to that interpretation that I have.
Breckes, I guess I would ask you, thank you, I would ask you to maybe consider bringing that up at regional planning or at our own bodies for a conversation, but I appreciate your thoughts on this.
Thank you.
And then we're going to hold until...
Hello?
Commissioner Lucy, I know you've been watching this. We I'm going to let Mr. Liparelli fill you in as to where we are and the need for your vote. I sincerely apologize. I know you've got 2 sick children on your hands, and so please forgive the intrusion. Mr. Liparelli.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Commissioner Lucy a couple questions? Mr.
Please.
Chairman.
Yes.
Go ahead. Commissioner Lucy, are you familiar with the application and the staff report and the materials that were submitted?
I am.
Have you been watching the proceedings today from home?
I've been watching them, yes, offline.
Do you have any questions or concerns that you'd like to ask on the record prior to voting?
No.
Mr. Chairman, after consultation with the planning staff, the state law does not mandate a supermajority of the county commissioners in a master plan amendment. It's a requirement of the planning commission that there be a 2/3 vote on master plan amendments. However, the county code has a requirement that a majority of the membership of the Board of County Commissioners is required for a master plan amendment. A majority of your membership is 3 votes. So, Mr. Chairman, you can ask Commissioner Lucy now how he is voting on the motion made by Commissioner Burke-Bigler.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Liparelli. So, Mr. Lucy, we have a motion on the floor for both items 1 and 2 for approval, following the recommendations of not only the Planning Commission and the Citizens Advisory Board, but staff. Do you understand?
I do, Chairman.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so we will now call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Nay. Okay, so we have Lucy, Burke-Bigler, and Hartung in the affirmation, Herman as a nay. Do you have that, Madam Clerk? Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. Motion carries 3-1. Mr. Manager.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. Public comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call public comment?
I have Ms. Tammy Holt still signed in.
Welcome.
For the record, I am going to state for the record that I will be taking this to the AG's office because he did not sign in as being part of the meeting at the beginning of the meeting when roll call was taken. And when you knew that you did not have the vote required, you proceeded to stop the meeting to get him on board. If he was going to do a vote, he should have been in the meeting at the beginning. The procedure was not followed properly. I understand all the questions that were put there to cover your derrieres, but I object, and I object loudly to the way that you are handling business. It is not the way that you do it. You recall it for another day, and you postpone it or redo it, or there's other ways to do it, but the way that you just did it. And I will find out. I'm going to make a call as soon as I get home, and I will take care of this. I think that Washoe County has a lot of problems, and I know the city of Reno is trying really hard to be very open and honest, but I know by watching a few of you, that is not the case for Washoe County, and I do not appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's nobody else signed in.
Okay, we will close public comment. And we will bring it back to our board. Commissioners, under Commissioners and County Managers' announcements. Mr. Manager.
Item number 6 is the Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include future, commission updates and requests for information on topics for future agendas, and I have nothing today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. Commissioner Burke-Bigler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just, for the record, want to say that I think this is a colossal waste of time for a large group of people, our attorneys, our staff, to come in on a 1-acre parcel to pull this many people together. There must be some way we can fix this. So I would like to ask Mr. Manager if you could provide us with direction on, do we need to fix this at the regional level? Do we, I mean, these county commissioners and city council members are all busy, as our attorneys and our staff and our clerks all are really busy. So to come in and sit down for a change on a 1-acre parcel seems to me overbearing. And I know I'm all in favor of transparency and making it public, but I don't understand why, if this sits in the city of Reno, it shouldn't just be approved by the city of Reno. I guess I do, well, if it sits in the county, why shouldn't it just be approved by the county? I understand it's because it's in your area of influence, but it just seems to me that we've spent an hour this morning, frankly, wasting time. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion.
I have a response to that might allay your concerns.
Excuse me, there is no response. This is commissioners and county managers' announcements, Ms. Breckus. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
The
Ms.
unusual
Breckus.
nature of the forum is a little cumbersome for me.
Thank you. I understand. Okay. Any other comments, commissioners? Okay. Mr. Manager, I would completely agree. I'd like to eliminate all joint planning areas. They're cumbersome. You've heard me say it before. You can't serve two masters. It's just impossible, and it becomes very difficult when you have an underlying zoning and an overlying SOI. So I'm hoping that will get solved with the new regional plan update. Commissioners, anything else? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned.
I'm looking for a motion to adjourn the Reno City Council.
So moved. Discussion.
All in favor?
We don't have council comment.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we don't. All right, thank you. We are adjourned.